Hello and welcome into another edition of the LFC Transfer Room. We have got a Transfer Central to bring you this evening, covering Ben Davies, Bobby's potential new contract, and also Matheus Nunes, because we've seen a few of his touch maps today. So I want to talk about them. Joining me today is Kev, James, and Jay. Start with you, Kev. How are you on this too hot day?
Loads of lorry ices in the freezer are getting well and truly mauled at the moment. So apart from that, though, all good, mate. All good. You?
Just too hot. If it wasn't this hot, I'd be happy. James, how are you? Just come back from your drive of Aircon. How are you doing?
I tell you what, that's the best thing. I mean, I can't afford petrol, obviously, but you can't afford electricity. Yeah, I mean, you're screwed either way, aren't you? But yeah, all I'm thinking now is lolly ice and the Scouser way of saying it as opposed to ice lolly, which is the Yorkshire way of saying it. And I'm just going, it just doesn't sound right.
And Jay, how are you doing? Chilling in your garden today?
Well, I mate, but it's still stifling out here. I feel like I'm on my fifth pair of undies, but yeah, gotta try and do what you can to stay cool.
That's it. I've got a fan just beaming on me now. It's horrendous. Hello to Alex in the chat. Don't forget to leave your comments as well and leave a like and subscribe on the video if you're new around here. Ben Davies looks set to depart. I think he's due his medical today or tomorrow. 4 million all in apparently from Rangers. Kev, good bit of business.
I don't know how to. I don't know. Is it? We never really seen much of him, did we? And of the 1.5 million, do you know what I mean? It's, you know, did he meet any of that to meet that? Because I'm sure we only paid 500,000 up front. So when you look at money wise, I'd say yeah, but no one knows him. No one's ever seen him. Is he really alive? I can't wait to see him in the SPL next season, just to get a glimpse of him. Do you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. Is he an NFT that we've started to do in transfers? I don't know. Seems like a hologram. But no, you know, if you're getting 4 million for someone you brought in for 500,000, I'm happy. More money towards the Jude Bellingham fund, I see.
Yeah, it does seem. I've delved in 24 hours, and we did only pay 500,000 up front for him, and the rest of the fee was all in like performance and game related add-ons. Yeah. I think one of them might have been should we qualify for the Champions League, but then he didn't play any games to hit that. So I do think we only paid 500,000 for him. When you look at it like that, James, I know you've got this vendetta against the lad now since he's had 60 grand, and then are you happy he's departed? I'm assuming.
I'm happy he's departed. Right, I'm going to start with that because I think, and the reason I'm so against it is I think culturally, it's what goes wrong at all the other clubs. You know, when Özil's on 350 a week, and it just creates this negative culture. And when you've got players like Pogba on 500,000 a week, and it creates this negative culture. You have a guy on 60 grand a week earning more than Luis Diaz, and all Ben Davies is famous for is being pictured with asthma medicine, and that's it. So I think the whole fact that we've got someone that is on such high wages that is contributing nothing, and I say nothing because on 3 times Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones is playing in all competitions, so I think it just it stops that anger. Because if you think of if you were in your job and someone was earning 3 times your wage and doing nothing, just turning up and clocking in, everyone would be fuming. You wouldn't be happy. Especially if you're breaking your back. So the fact that we've cleared him out, and now I don't know whether all this 4 million is going to come to us. I don't know if there's a golden handshake involved in this, because 60 grand a week to 2027, Rangers are not paying him 60 grand a week. So there's a very good chance, I would say, that some of that 4 million we're going to use as a payoff. It may be all of it, and just
with
net
his
off.
wages, though, James. Don't you think for the last season, Sheffield United would have paid a proportion, if not maybe all of them? So what he's earned off ourselves is not going to be what's reported over the last 18 months.
Not a chance. No, but not a chance, is it? They're not going to pay. Sheffield United are not going to pay 60 grand a week for that type of player. No,
They
they
might
may
pay
pay
at least like 30 of it.
but I highly doubt it because we just wanted him out the door because of the risk of toxic culture. That vendetta against someone knocking on the door. Well, why is he worth 60 grand and I'm worth 15? And he never plays. So I think it's better that we've got it out. I think the money of this is going to be far more complicated because, let's face it, why would he leave unless, one, he's a really stand-up guy and he just wants to play football, which I hope it's that, or two, Liverpool have gone, we will pay you X amount because we know the wages range will give you is this and you will not lose any money. Because if you were in Ben Davies' shoes, why would you lose your nest egg to go for someone that pays you less? And Rangers aren't going to pay him 60k. So I think it's important we got him out. I think it's a really big deal that we got him out. Just from a sheer culture of the club perspective.
Would you agree with James, Jay? Do you think there maybe might have been a golden handshake, or do you think he maybe does just want to play football? I mean, he was meant to go to Celtic before we hijacked the deal, but then, like James says, why would you leave when you're getting 60 grand a year and you was on a 4 or 5 year deal? That's setting him up with money he probably thought he'd never earn in the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know about the toxicity because I don't think any Liverpool player even knew who he was to get toxic. You wouldn't even know he was on 60k if you said Ben Davies. They'd went, what a Tottenham. One of them lads. He was on 60 grand a week, but like you said, I think Sheffield United would have paid a cut of it. I don't think a massive cut, but they'd have been paying some of his wage. So just getting him off the books it's one of them, isn't it? It's like the man who never existed, really. It's good he's gone. 60 grand more on the books each week, but it's one of them, mate. He may as well have done the stadium tour. No one knows who he is.
You're on mute, Matt. You're still on mute, Matt.
Kev, 60 grand a week is a decent wage, to be fair, isn't it? So do you think...
It's not bad.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind it.
It's a decent
I wouldn't
wage,
mind it either.
So do you think that like that now that's off our wage still? That like James alluded to before, Kev, he was on more than Luis Diaz. So can you maybe see us bringing somebody in now that that's freed up?
I personally can't, because we've already got a quartet there that are going to be there for the season, and it then nullifies any kind of youth coming through for cup games and that. You got to look at the reason why Ben Davies came in. He came in at a time where we were pleading and begging. I think we were writing letters and petitions into Liverpool and that just to get us to centre half in, and he comes in at the back end of a transfer window in which we get Kabak in, and we all thought, all right, okay, and then there's like $500,000 down the settee that we've just gone, yeah, let's try our luck here and get someone in who can we bring in. So, we that happens, and then he comes in, so, because it's near the last end of the window, he gets a decent wage packet as well. So it's... I would like us not to be bringing someone in, because it would... I think we've got enough in centre-half position, and it would hinder anyone youthful coming in as well. How about yourself?
I think the wages is a big thing, getting 60 grand off the wage bill. Because I feel like if you was to bring someone like this Matheus Nunes in, he's probably on about that. So the wages we've just got Ben Davies off, who doesn't play, we could maybe now give that to someone like Nunes. Can you see that maybe, James?
Yeah, we're run really tight. LFC Transfer Room did a really good graphic, didn't they, about the outgoings and ingoings to net off the Nunes transfer. So once again, we're at zero, and we normally there's a little bit of a deficit. So if Nunes is rumoured to be at around about 20 to 30 million, 60 grand a week would be about right for the wages. So there's a good chance that someone that we actually want to take a risk on, not that we've been forced to take a risk on because of panic, would be quite a good move. So, yeah, there's possibility more than probability, I would say.
And finally, on Ben Davies, Jay, do you think he was a signing Jurgen Klopp wanted, or do you think it was just the board getting someone?
It was a strange one, mate, because I thought we were crying for a proper centre half, and Klopp's probably had Kanate on his list all along, and that's why we didn't move for anyone proper in that window. I reckon the scouts have probably gone to him and said, look, there's these 2, 3, 4 players who can play out from the back, because I think the reason we got Davies is he's not bad with the ball at his feet. You wouldn't know that at Liverpool, but he can play with it at his feet at Preston. So I think the boards have probably gone to him, or the scouts, whoever it is, and said, look, these are the profile of player who can actually play with the ball at their feet. And Klopp's just gone, yeah, get who you can type thing. He's came. Klopp's probably watched him in training and thought, no, like, he can't cut it. Hence why we never seen him. So I think, yeah, it's been a panic signing, like Kabak was. But Kabak had a little bit, obviously more than Davies, and I think that's why we've probably never ever seen him. And can't really have a go at Davies. If you've offered him 60k, he's not going to say no, is he? Going to a big club like Liverpool, someone put 60k in front of you, you'd be a bit of a divvy, wouldn't you, to say, nah, do you know what, I'll stay at Preston on 10 grand a week. Or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't know what he was on there, but Kevy's already probably pissed off half of Scotland, hasn't he? Because he was meant to go to Celtic. Yeah. Now he's going to Rangers.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be delighted with that. Do you know what I mean? You know, I've done a little bit of research on him, like, because trying to find anything of him in a Liverpool, even in a training video, was just too hard to find. It's like finding where's Wally. But you know, he has been, you know, in the Championship. That was his level, and he came with the you know, people thought he's an established centre half, 24, 25. A good job. I think he'll do a decent job up at Rangers. Do you know what I mean? The only game he has to do well in is against Celtic, really, isn't it? Really, so, you know, all good for everyone.
Yes. Even to Gary, Drew, Olu, Douglas in the chat. Don't forget, if you're only around here, to leave a like and subscribe on the video. Moving on to Bobby Firmino. Quite a few people now have come out and saying that does look like he's going to extend. A few pundits are saying you think he's going to extend. Most recently, Gabby Agbonlahor has been saying he thinks he's going to extend. It's like clutching at straws, really, to be honest. But James, can you see Bobby extending? If the deal's put in front of him, do you think he'd, even though it may be on a reduced wage, do you think he would turn his nose up at it and say, I'm going to go to America for a few years? Because he's still probably got a bit to give at the highest level before seeing his career out, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's a unique player that and only he can play in his position in world football. One of the struggles I've got in my head about giving him a new contract at this moment in time is not anything to do with his ability, or it's just, is he still at peak condition? Because he's been in and out and struggling and stuff like that. Is he a rhythm player? And I feel like he is a bit of a rhythm player. So I'd like to see him get a run of games. You know, if we're going to do this 4-2-3-1, I'd like to see him play 10. Yeah. I'd like to see him link up with Nunes and just see what he can do. And then give him the opportunity to be worth the contract that he probably wants. Because at the moment, with the amount of games that he's playing, we probably wouldn't pay him the contract that he's looking for. So I kind of want to give him a bit of time playing that 10 role, splitting it with Carvalho and Elliott, and just see what he can do. And then probably, I think he will be worth the contract that he wants, or America is the right solution.
Jay, with Bobby, you're in a bit of a conundrum, aren't you? Because if he doesn't sign a new deal now and we don't sell him, he goes next year for free. And surely someone at Bobby's level, you've got to get some money for, haven't you?
It's one of them, no, Matty. I don't think you get a lot of money for him. If you're a team who wants Firmino, you've got to play a certain way, because he isn't an out-and-out striker and he's not going to get you 20, 30 goals a season. So if you're going to buy someone who's 29, 30 last year of his contract and he's not going to bang goals in for you, I can't see you getting much of a fee for him. As much as we all love him, we love him for what he's done in the past, not for what he can do. The thing with Bobby is, though, he doesn't strike me as a player who, if he is getting a new contract, that he wants more money. I could imagine him staying on what he's on, to be honest, just because of how much he loves Liverpool. And I don't know if you've ever got on this before, Matty, and you, Kev, because I know you go to the game. When when you do the warm-ups before the match, you always see him with Jota, just them two, training with each other. And I half wonder if sometimes Klopp's trying to get Firmino to learn Jota that number 10, number false 9 role a bit better. I know now we've got Nunes, that probably seems a bit more unlikely, but last season, before games, I always seen them two together. And I don't know if that's Firmino trying to learn Jota how to play his role type of thing, because I agree with James. I'd love to see Firmino in that 10 role if we change the 4-2-3-1. So I wouldn't let him go. I'd give him a new contract if he's happy to stay. I just wouldn't be giving him any type of significant pay rise, given his age. And over the last 2 years, you could argue he's been on the decline.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he would get a better contract, and I do agree. I think he'd stay based on his terms because he loves it here, and where else would he get his haircut if he moves away from Liverpool? I mean, like he's
free dental, isn't it?
Yeah, and the dentist got everything here for him. But North Red makes a good point here, Kev, saying that he's a bench player, and I think a lot of fans forget maybe as well, going into this season, there's 5 subs. So you do need a deeper squad. So with Bobby, could you maybe see him doing what Jay said, and he's teaching Jota, and he just, as this next year, teaching Jota, and he does the part for free, and he gets a big signing on bonus and stuff like he probably deserves at somewhere else? Or do you think that will extend him for a few more years?
I think he'll extend. I think it'll be nice for him to teach the likes of the younger ones as well, such as Carvalho as well, to learn him, as well as, playing him, as well as learning Jota as well, if he has to as well. He's got that degree and that can do that. I think over the last 18 months, out of our initial front three, he's the one who's deteriorated the most at a rapid rate than the likes of Mane and Salah. So, it is getting to the stage now, as Jake said, alluded to before, you're not going to get much money for him. And if you are, you've got to play a certain side football. I can see him leaving us for is probably Barcelona to some degree. But that's if he decides to go. I hope he does stay. I hope he does stay on for a little bit longer and brings through those that we are playing in that number 10 role to show them how he plays. And I agree with what lad said. It would be great to see him playing in that number 10 role. Do you know what I mean? And even if it is off the bench for the last 20 minutes of a game or starting it, do you know what I mean? He needs game time. He needs to build up. I think with the five subs this season, it's going to give people far more minutes than what they've come accustomed to over previous seasons, because you are going to have that where we can make more and bring in players a little bit longer and set the reset button to a certain degree. So fingers crossed he does sign. If he does sign, fair do to him. I love him.
Yeah, Alan in the comments, Jay, saying sell him on and get a few quid. His stats have declined every year at the club. Olu's saying he may not extend because he'll need game time to enter the Brazil squad for the World Cup in Qatar. I mean, I think he's nailed on at Brazil anyway. But when, like Kev said, when he's on it, if we were to bring Bobby on for the last 20 minutes and he was well and truly on it, Liverpool don't play better, do they? James.
Oh, was that me? Sorry. No, and this is the thing. I think there is a good chance that clubs might start training for this. A bit like American football, training players to do impacts, like players train for just small bursts of action. And there is a very high possibility players like Firmino or Milner could be trained for short bursts of explosive impact instead of training for a long 90-minute spell. because that would be very different training. It would have very different requirements. Your body would need to react in very different ways. And if you've got 5 subs, then you can start to train these players. You know, I go back to Fairclough, Super Sub, Liverpool days in the 80s. You know, you had a player who was pretty much known for coming off the bench and having a massive impact. I thought that should have been Danny Ings' role for us. I think he should have been trained to be a last 30-minute explosive player, like use everything you've got, train you for 30 minutes of action. So there is a chance that actually maybe Firmino won't decline if he's trained to be explosive for 30 minutes maximum as opposed to 90 minutes. Because you've got to imagine that would be very, very different training.
Don't you think, though, that would be more better for someone like Jota, who's just phenomenal off the bench?
Would someone like that want to be a bench player, though? I think as you get older, you start to go, okay, well, I'll take my time as it comes. Someone like Jota, and rightly, should want to be that number 9 for Liverpool because he's good enough. He just needs to refine a few things. I think players that are aging probably want more partial game time than would accept. And young players as well would accept that 30-minute burst building into 60 minutes, building into 90 minutes. But Jota is great off the bench.
Jay, can you see Bobby going into a role like that? Like what Jay's mentioning? Because I do think if we were struggling to win a game, you bring Bobby on for 20, 30 minutes and he's well and truly at it, dragging everyone out of position and stuff. He can turn games on the head, can't he?
It's one of them. It's I don't know how you approach a player to say, we're going to do your training because you're going to come in 20, 30-minute bursts. I think it's an interesting point, defo. Jota's someone you definitely couldn't do it with. I'd argue Jota should be in the starting 11 anyway. Felt really hard on him last season that he sort of got phased out once Diaz come in. As good as he was, I thought Jota carried us for a month, maybe 2. Firmino's defo got a role to play if he comes off for 20 minutes, half an hour, but I think he'll get more than that if he stays. Klopp loves him anyway, and there's no one like him bringing players into the game. If there's a game where you're struggling to get people on the ball, the first person you think of is get Firmino on, because he makes them selfless runs that gives other players space. He asks for the ball everywhere and gets other people involved by being on the pitch. So I think if he stays, I think he'll have a bit more of a 20-minute, 25-minute role at the end of the game. But James is right in what he's saying, that I think doing that, he'd have a massive impact coming off the bench. But I think there's still a bit more in him than just that. That's what I mean.
Hi to you, Jen. Just seeing you join there. Hope you're okay. But Drew makes a comment, Kev. He's the 5th highest paid player at the club. Do you think that factors into his renewal?
Who are you asking?
Kev.
It may do. For me, it doesn't. For me, it doesn't. Oh, sorry. No, I it's hard, isn't it? We can look at it and go, yeah, it will do, and that's the reason why we won't renew. But we look at what Bobby can do, and given the time, I think he's worth it. To be honest, some people may argue with me, but I think he's well worth it. And to have him in our team, whether it's on the bench or starting games, there's no one better than one in that position at this time. And the good thing about him is that he'll be learning and teaching what he does to the likes of a Carvalho, who I can see will be our number 10 in some degree, or even a Harvey Elliott. Learning off Bobby in the business of creating space and link up with the front 2 or 3, whatever you go with, shouldn't be a discussion for me.
What about you, James? Think 5th highest paid player. Would you want to see him on reduced terms if he was to renew, or are you happy for him to continue getting the money he's on?
We've lost Mane. We've lost, one of our senior forwards. I wouldn't want to lose another senior forward. I think he's on 180, isn't he? So it's about 9 million a year. And I think he has demonstrated his ability to be on 180. The only thing I miss is no-look finishes. It's been a few years. If he was to throw out a no-look finish this season, I think everyone would be like, yeah, give him whatever he wants, because everyone goes mental when he does it. But no, this is the thing. We can argue about money as much as you want. He's done enough to earn his wage. It's a bit like when we had the chat about James Milner. Oh, well, he needs to be on reserve. No, he's done enough, and he shows enough leadership to earn his wage. He leads those Brazilians and Portuguese speakers. He interlinks with them. You know, his family create all the sort of social networks for them and stuff like that. There's huge value in that. You know, I talked about culture with Ben Davies being on so much money and people feeling that they're worth more. There's also huge benefit in someone that wants to bring everyone in and help them get better. So I think players like Firmino, Henderson, Milner are essential. And I think Firmino's next role is that Henderson, Milner, that sort of more senior pro helping people get through. He will want, and rightly so, he will want Carvalho to overtake him. He will want Elliott to overtake him. He'll want Jota to overtake him. Now, he won't necessarily want it to happen straight away, but he's that type of professional. He's not the Ronaldo type, which is I will destroy anyone in my way. And that's where culture and things like that are really important.
What about you, Jay? I'd give him the money he's still on, to be honest. I think he deserved it. I think he's one of our greatest ever players. Would you be happy with that as well? Or do you think the way Liverpool are tightly run ship, saving wages where we can is a good idea?
Do you know what, lads? It's going to be an unpopular opinion, to be honest. Because I know you all love Bobby and I do myself, but I don't think you can justify him being the fifth highest paid player at the club, especially if you're talking about a role what James is on about. You've made some boss points there, by the way, about like the Portuguese influence and that, because that's something that people won't think about. But I don't see how you can dig your heels in for ages to give Salah a new contract. Talk about not breaking wage structures, bringing in new players, when you're going to give a player who's going to get a sporadic or rotational role for 190 grand a week, 180 grand a week. And then you're going to give Naby Keita a new deal, who's already on 140, 150. Them two players don't warrant being the highest paid at the club for me. I think that could potentially jeopardise players coming in next season and the season after that. So no problem with Bobby staying. Want him to stay, would love him to, but I don't think personally that I could justify paying him the same wage given the role he's had over the last 2.5 years. So no, I wouldn't give him the same money, no.
Would you change your mind, Kev or James, and agree with Jay if I brought a comment like this up saying Firmino's wages could potentially pay for Bellingham's wages?
That's my point.
Naby Keita's wages pay for Bellingham.
I want rid of him as well.
Naby Keita's not on too much, is he?
He's on 120 a week.
Lad. Yeah, 150.
I've got them all in front of me. 120 a week, 6 mil a year. Add in Ben Davies. Bosh. Bellingham done.
Do you reckon he comes in on 200 grand though?
No.
Yeah.
Do you?
He's not. Nah, he's not. He's only on about 50 at Dortmund, didn't he?
250.
I reckon he'll go like 100 now.
Yeah, I think he's on like 50 at Dortmund. So
It don't matter. He's about to get a book, and there'll be a lot of performance. I reckon it's Milner level. Sorry, Kev, go on.
I think that's where the auction will be with them. In the fact that the price will be set for next season, if it is, and then the auction will start with his wages and how much he's going to get. That's why I think it'll be closer to 350.
Makes sense.
We banned Bellingham chat from today's stream.
I don't know what you think.
We spoke far too much. 350. Nah, I don't think that's like the same as Salah, but if City and that go hard, I don't want to throw them 250, 300. We're going to have to match it if we want to. Don't forget, if City are going to sell Bernardo Silva to Barca this window, which looks likely, they need a midfielder next year.
And De Bruyne is 31.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance we give him a contract that goes up every year on a certain number of appearances or something like that. You know, you'll start you on 150. If you make 25 appearances, you go to 200. If you make arbitrary numbers, then you go to this, then you go to that. I think there's a good chance there's a gated contract. Just with the way Liverpool do things, a lot of things are performance-related pay and bonuses. And I think Jude Bellingham's family are known for being quite pragmatic and stuff like that. Yeah. So the no money will come. And I think by the time he's 25, he'll be on 250 grand a week, 300 grand a week. I think they'd be fine with that. Because too much too soon, you don't want to drop his levels. I think he still wants to fight. And that goes with money as well. But maybe Kev's right. There's a good chance. If he says I'm worth this, someone will pay it. It just won't be us.
Moving on to Nunes. I'll pass it on to you first, Jay, then to Kev, because I'm going to see if I can work on magic to get these touch maps up. We still apparently have a strong interest in him. Reckon 30 mil gets him. After seeing them stats we've seen today, how much more do you want him?
Yeah, it is. The stats you put up today were ridiculous, weren't they? We spoke about this the other day on the podcast and talking about stopgap signings. If a player improves on Oxlade-Chamberlain or Keita, that's not a stopgap. It's improving your squad. The numbers you showed today on him, with whoever it was, I think it might have been James, them numbers were ridiculous. It was just someone take the credit, whoever it was.
It was me,
Yeah. Well, I know you're the stat man, James. No, his numbers was ridiculous, mate. That touch map, he looked like rain. He hit every single part of the pitch that you could possibly hit. And for the money and his age, 30 million, it makes perfect sense, mate. And it's like I said the other day, everyone's talking about stopgaps and stuff. I've mentioned Tielemans and Neves before, and obviously now Nunes. They're not stopgap signings because they're improving on what you've got, which is Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain. So I'd be all in for him myself.
I've had to bring it up this way because I need to close Chrome to share the screen, apparently. So that's a touch map. This is apparently who he wants. He's coming from Sport and he's their best player.
That's unreal, that lad.
Isn't it?
That is someone who imprinted
that
the
is
game
sick,
all over,
that lad.
isn't it?
That, honestly, mate, when you see a touch map,
it's just versatility, isn't it?
It's
like
someone
that's a picture of versatility.
Constantly in the game, no matter what. It is. That is what probably Jurgen Klopp's probably showing to Keita and everyone else. Going, that's the kind of touch map I bought you in for. So it's a no-brainer for me. It's a no-brainer for me. And I agree with Jay. Makes a good point in the fact that if it's better than Ox and a Keita, then you're actually upgrading your actual squad rather than actually bringing someone in as a stopgap. And it's then that eventually go and he stays. So he puts pressure on the others to match what he does. So although he may come in as a stopgap to some, he's not. He's putting pressure on the others that need to go and step up to the plate. But that is ridiculous, that touch map, though.
Yeah. What is he? He's 19, 21? Between that sort of age?
He's
23, isn't he?
No. Yeah, I think he's 23.
Okay, so, but it's not a stopgap then,
23. 23.
It's a developing footballer that could break into our first team and be a fundamental part of our central midfield. A stopgap is a 30-year-old.
It's Davies. It's Ben Davies.
He's not Ben Davies. He's 26.
No stopgap.
But James, that's
Thiago could have been, couldn't he? 2 years, 3 years max. That's a stopgap.
Well, that leads me onto this.
Seriously?
If you look at this graphic, he tended to play the majority of his minutes of Sporting this season in the left central midfield role, 2,749 of them. That is where Thiago plays. So if he can play on the right side midfield, as we can see, he played 930 minutes there. So do you think if he came in, he would be learning from Thiago with the eventuality of playing in the left centre midfield role? Or do you think he covers Hendo and Thiago this year? And then when Bellingham comes in, then that's your midfield too?
I think So I think he's covering sort of Thiago's position and doing it, but there's another map that you've got, which is like how he plays with progressive runs and drives. That one. So this, if you look at dribbles attempted and progressive runs, it's insane. Yeah. So this is a guy that drives us forward and sucks defenders towards him. So almost you're talking, could he play as Thiago? Could he play as a 10?
Very direct, isn't he?
Yeah. So but that's what we need when we play teams in a low block. We need someone that just goes at the heart of them and makes people panic, as opposed to just pinging it around at the back. So he's an option to change how we play, which I think is really exciting. I actually really think he could do something for us and not just a stopgap for Jude Bellingham. He could break into the first team, and it could be, let's say we signed Jude Bellingham, Jude and him as our two central midfielders, because Thiago's what, 31, 32?
Yeah.
So a long-term replacement for Thiago's needed, a long-term replacement for Henderson's needed. Fabinho, we've got another couple of years, but why not take the opportunity?
I mean, Jay, would you sacrifice his passes attempted and his passing? I mean, his passing accuracy is still 86.2%. It's still good numbers, but would you sacrifice his passing ability to have a midfielder who can drive a defence, and then you have a passing midfielder, say like Jude Bellingham? Or I feel like Matheus Nunes would work hand in hand with Thiago, because Thiago can stand and ping balls everywhere and he can work people. But how well do you reckon he could work with Jude? Can we sacrifice one of our midfielders having a worse, so to speak, pass percentage to run up defences instead?
If you're talking about it being with Bellingham next year, then Thiago's a year older anyway. So chances are next season, not the season coming, the one after probably is Thiago's last one anyway. Which I don't want. I love watching Thiago. I'd let him play till he was 40. But it's one of them lads. The Nunes thing where he's driving at defenders is going to create so much space for other people with the low block, but we do need a midfielder who can play a killer pass, because I do feel like Thiago is the only real one who can do that. I know people keep showing me clips of Henderson against United and Everton. Doing that 2-3 times a season isn't good enough. You need a player who can open a defence, like Bernardo Silva, like De Bruyne, who can just open and unlock a defence with a perfect pass. So we need that. But we also need what Nunes has got, which is the driving of teams as well. So I don't think you can really give one up. I think it's just that you need to address both areas, and it just isn't likely to be in one window. So if you got Nunes this year, and then whether it be Bellingham or Barella or whoever else it is next year, then I think you've got to go for both, because the midfield is aging. Henderson as well as Thiago.
Jay, when you look at Trent's last match, he was driving from right centre back into right central midfield.
Yeah.
So if you've got Nunes doing the same, and then Bellingham just going, well, I'll have all this space and do what I want with it, it kind of works perfectly, because then you've got someone from midfield driving, you've got the right back driving. Obviously, Robertson loves to stay on the outside.
Yeah. It's actually scary. It's scary to think of if you pulled off both. It really is, because it just adds a completely different dynamic to what we've got now. Because them statue shows of Nunes is what we thought Keita would be doing, and he's not, and he's never gonna. So, I mean, I feel like we're on MNF with all the stats, by the way, Matthew. I feel like Gary Neville's came on the show. But it makes sense to make it. Like James just said, it gives the team a complete different dynamic.
What I want to know is, why did you go for Gary Neville and not Jamie Carragher?
Bias. Neville was on first, wasn't he? He likes the.
Do you know what I prefer Neville on as a pundit to Carragher, you know. I think Neville.
Unless you're watching Carolina.
Kev, Rookdraft makes a good point. Get Nunes this summer, get rid of Ox, Keita and Milner next year, and bring in Bellingham next summer. Makes perfect sense, really, doesn't it?
That'd be perfect. That'd be great. Yep. Let's hope it does happen. I'd like Milner to stay on in a coaching role. Myself personally, I don't think he will. I think he'll leave the club altogether. I think he's great to area of what he does. So it'll be great if we could keep him in some kind of coaching capacity if he wanted it. But no. Big season this season for Ox and Keita to step up and come to the party, because if they don't, it'll be see you later.
Good point. Good point. James, I'll bring one more of these up.
Oh, here we go.
Passes by zone for Nunes. He is clinical on the left hand side. Clinical.
Silly.
He's clinical in the middle as well, to be fair, with his passes and on the wing. He could link in perfectly with Robertson and Luis Diaz, by the looks of it. Putting someone of that quality next to Luis Diaz is only going to improve him as well, isn't it? And they speak the same language.
Exactly that. And I think, you look at his defensive, the bottom two, the 214 and the 168. And I think about how against teams with a low block where they're not attacking us, do you need FIRMINO just stood there sweeping things up, or do you have someone that drives forward and helps do things? And there's all those different options. I thought Carvalho with Diaz was good. Who knows what this guy could be like with Diaz? You have two people running at you at full pace. Defenses panic, and it's part of where we've struggled sometimes last year against teams with low blocks. So just a different option. I think Alan puts it in chat, we need plans A, B, C, D to break down defenses, because our biggest challenge is not the teams that attack us. We tend to break them apart really quickly. It's teams who just sit back, two lines of 4 or 11 at the back in some instances. And they're where we struggled last year in the Premier League. So I think if we've got a different option, this is theoretically what Ox was, what Keita was. Keita was meant to be able to strike the ball from outside the area. I don't think I've ever seen him get one on target. And that's nothing against Keita. It's just I don't think he can do it. So, yes, please. Looks perfect. Hopefully, he might need time to settle into the team. That's absolutely fine. We've got Milner and Henderson for the season. Let's get someone like that in.
What do you make of his numbers, Jay, in this passing by zone?
Said before that, everything you've shown there, he looks ridiculous, and he looks like everything that we need. At his age, if he's available for 30 million, you'd be a bit stupid not to go for him. Based on what we've seen and spoke about today. Whether he's available for that place, obviously, I don't know. But if he is, then yeah, I'll be all over it. And it's like James has just said as well. He'd be learning directly from Thiago. I mean, what more do you want there? Do you know what I mean? So I'd be all over him.
Exactly.
Will it be the end of Curtis Jones, though? Because Curtis Jones plays that left central midfielder role, doesn't he? He's the understudy to Thiago at the moment. I know we talk about Ox and Keita, but they don't really play that side.
I think the 5 subs affects that a lot, because then if, say, Nunes was looking leggy in the last 70 minutes, then Curtis Jones can come on for them 20 minutes and make the impact. That's how Jota got his way into the team, 20-minute intervals. So that's then down to the likes of Jones and Elliott and stuff to prove themselves in the minutes they do that.
Yeah. And that signing might vamp him up. That might make Curtis think, shit, I need to show what I can do here, because his place will get lost, like you've just said.
It's the Carra mentality, wasn't it? Liverpool signed a centre-back every year, and he made it his mission to prove that he was good enough. So I think it's a big year for Harvey, Carvalho, Jones, to cement something. I think there's the opportunity there to cement a place this year, especially with the midfield ageing, or show the transfer committee you need to bring in new faces.
Yeah. If we was to bring him in, Kev, and it doesn't look like there's anyone else still to leave, maybe Nat Phillips, Reece Williams will probably go out on loan, maybe Nat Phillips on loan. If we brought him in, do you fancy our chances better for the league and Champions League?
It will grow them from where they are. I'm already at 98% that we're going to win everything again next season, or try and win everything next season. So I'm always a man who will always feel that we go into every season and can win anything and we'll dominate. I think there'll only be 2 in the league, and I'll see Europe. I'm not scared of anyone. The only thing I am scared of is playing City in the quarters or in semis. That's the only thing I'm more scared of on that. League Cup, I don't think we may not take it that seriously. If we do, we've got a chance of another final. Same with the FA Cup. Bring him in, It just means that it gives you a lot of options, as what the lads have alluded to, and what we can be doing. Instead of looking at a formation change, you've got players that can change it completely. And that reset button with five subs this season will just play in our hands, be music to our ears. You know what I mean? Things aren't working well. You throw in a Nunes, you throw in a Jota, and you throw in a Bobby. What are you going to do then? Do you know what I mean? It's scary what we can do. I'm up for all four this season. I don't know what you are like.
I'd echo it, to be fair. I even when we had options, I thought we'd win everything. I don't think there's no fun in football if you go in believing you're not going to do anything, to be honest. I mean, I always think Liverpool can win everything. Until it's mathematically not possible, we can win anything, in my opinion. So I'd echo what Kev's saying there. But, yeah. But, James, I'll put it to you. The only team I think is going to be a dark horse this year in Europe is Barcelona. If they bring Bernardo Silva in, they've got Lewandowski, Ansu Fati, Pedri. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've got a good side. I do think they might be a dark horse. Like, nobody expected Real Madrid to win the Champions League last year. Nobody. So you could maybe have a Barca like that, but can you fancy us for Everton, James? If we get Nunes in or without?
Yeah, well, without, I think we're favourites for the league, because I think Man City have fundamentally changed how they play, and they've taken out, like, we've lost one of our better players in Mane. There's no getting away from it. We will decrease in value for a year whilst Darwin, Diaz settle to that level. Now, I think we're talking 1%. But Man City are losing Bernardo Silva, the top dribbler, the top forward driver in the league. They've lost Sterling. They're potentially going to lose Zinchenko. Yes, they brought in Haaland.
And Jesus.
And Gabriel Jesus. So they've massively reduced their quality. The only team I think has improved in the top four is, you could say, Tottenham. I think they've brought in too many. Chelsea have brought in two very, very strong players and got rid of something toxic. Koulibaly has been the only defender I've ever seen nullify Salah every time.
He's quality.
He's unreal defender. He's a cracking side. 5-year contract at 31's a bit mental, but by the by. And Sterling's a great signing for Chelsea, because Chelsea haven't had a winger that's been effective ever. So I think they're going to be better, but I'm not scared of them. I think we're fundamentally better than them. Conor Gallagher back at Chelsea as well is a good thing. But I think Man City have taken a big step back. I think we've taken a small step back, and I think to take 2 steps forward. I think Chelsea have taken a step forward, but they've got a massive gap to fill. So, league, happy. Champions League, I'm always confident. It's only the final I worry about, because anytime anyone's got to come to Anfield, they crumble. League and FA Cup, depends how Jurgen feels. Without me being a striker focusing on it, it's always a bit of a risk.
I think, Jay, I don't know about you, even if we don't bring Nunes in, we're probably favourites for the league for the points James has just made there. If they lose Bernardo Silva, as much as I hate him, he's unbelievable. He is unbelievable. And that probably symbolises they're probably going to go to a double pivot with Calvin Phillips and Rodri. But if they're going to lose Zinchenko as well, I think even that's a bold move, because he played a lot of games for them last season. So they do have injury problems in the full-back positions, Man City. So, and then, yeah, they brought Haaland in, but Raheem Sterling last year got 13 goals and 6 assists, and Jesus got 9 goals and 4 assists. He's then going to replace Sterling is a good player, Jesus is a good player, and he's brought Haaland and Alvarez in, and I can't see Alvarez starting every week. So I think Liverpool nailed on even without Nunes for the league. Would you agree?
I'm always more confident for the Champions League than the league. And that's because of what James said about 2 legs. I always fancy, after Barcelona, how can you not fancy the turn? Game's over, but it's not like we haven't done that before. Barca, we've done it to Dortmund, we've done it to Olympiacos. You can go on and on. So I always fancy us for the Champions League, to be honest. I just don't think teams fancy going to Anfield. The Premier League, yeah, I get you saying City have sold Sterling, they're selling Silva. Do you not think they're going to not replace them players? if Bernardo Silva gets sold, Zinchenko gets sold, they already have sold Sterling. They're going to replace them. City is still going to make moves in this window, 100%.
It's not that
the other thing from what's
because
mate?
It's not that. So it's the telepathy, isn't it? The thing you work on.
Yeah, of course.
4 years of working together and knowing where everyone runs. It takes a season to get back to that level. So us losing Mane, it'll take Diaz and Nunes a season to get to that level of telepathy. They gut out their team. It's going to take them a little bit longer to get it back together, so they are going to make mistakes.
He will, but I just don't think Pep's stupid enough to leave himself that short that he thinks that whoever he brings in or doesn't bring in can't reach a certain... Pep's not a stupid manager. I mean, I know he's had money everywhere he's been and he's had the best teams in the world, but he is a great coach and he's not stupid. His first season, he came into the Premier, he got a culture shock and he knew exactly what he had to do the next season to sort it out, and he did. He done it straight away, blitzed the league. The other thing for us is we have lost Mane, yeah, but Nunes has got to hit the ground running. If he doesn't, we've lost Mane and haven't replaced him if Nunes doesn't hit the ground running. So I think it's just as open as it's ever been, and obviously Chelsea have strengthened. I think Koulibaly's a world-class defender. I wanted him years ago if we'd have had him and Van Dijk. Not that I don't like Gomez and Canate, nothing like that.
I know they've got rid of some defenders, but Thiago Silva and Koulibaly is only like a 1-2 season project, surely. You know?
And I think this will be the best title race, and it's hard to say obviously because it's been a point twice, but I just think I think it's always been Liverpool, City, and the rest, and I just think Chelsea and Spurs will get closer. I don't think they're going to be in a title race as such, but I think they'll make it more interesting than what it has been. The Nunes one's a big one for me, lads. We have sold Mane, and if Nunes doesn't hit the ground running, you've lost Mane and you haven't replaced them goals. Like that's a massive thing, you know.
With Jota doing his hamstring, there's a massive pressure.
This is what I mean. I love Jota, by the way. I'd still start Jota at the beginning of the season in the central role. I know we spent that money on Nunes, but Jota knows our system. He's done nothing wrong. Why would you not play him?
I also think that opposing fans are putting so much pressure on every miss Nunes makes.
Exactly.
They're building a pressure cooker for him, mainly because they want him to fail, because they don't want us to get another one right.
Like everyone always doubts Jurgen Klopp's signings.
Yeah.
And then...
I'm not doubting Nunes, by the way. I'm not doubting him. I'm just saying, if he doesn't hit the ground running, you've lost the...
I don't think...
20
It can take a year, It can take a year.
Exactly.
I think Luis Diaz...
But you've got Diaz, Jota and Salah, haven't you?
Yeah, but I think Diaz is... Although he's came from that league, I think he's just cut from a different cloth, to be honest. I think he is... There's world-class players and then there's world-class players. And I think Luis Diaz would probably eventually be falling into that world-class player bracket, like your Salahs and stuff after a year or so under Klopp. But with Nunes... My worry is it seems like it's such a big style of play change for Liverpool because we've now got a target man which we've never had under Klopp.
It was the comments Fabinho said today that made me think about it. He's more or less like hinted that, he's going to need time to adjust here, you know. I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't, try and look at Fabinho's interview. He more or less says he's not going to come in the ground running. He's going to need time to adapt, which Robbo did and Fabinho did, to be fair, but obviously, when you sign a 65 million striker or 100 million striker, everyone expects bang, goal, and he is a kid. So
every player's going to say that. What our team need to do right now, because of how much pressure opposing fans are trying to put on him, what every single one of our players has to do is say he needs time, because unfortunately, people get swept up in the hype. Like they showed one miss kick. Let's ignore that, all the great touches and the strike that he had against Palace. They're just showing that miss kick on repeat. And that's what they're going to do until the Premier League starts. They're going to try and build this pressure cooker that he's a bad striker. But we watched him in the Champions League at Anfield absolutely bully Van Dijk and Alisson and then stick one in the bottom corner. I think once we get him in a rhythm, it'll be fine. But our players have to take the pressure off in media and interviews and stuff like that, so that Liverpool fans are more patient if it does take a bit longer.
Very good point, James.
So, what do you think, Kev? Can you see him hitting the ground running, or do you think he is going to need time? And are you worried?
It's mad how it's mad how players who's only played roughly about 60 minutes so far in 2 games in the pre-season, and we're already looking at it as if he's that's it. We're done. We're done for it. It baffles me every season. There's always one or two that now I get he's come in with money, but the first thing every other fan's going to do is going to mark out every time he does something wrong. Do you know what I mean? So it was always going to happen that we'll have these little memes and gifs on Twitter and social media. It is going to take time. Sadly enough, it is going to take time. He's coming from a different league to start. This realization's got to kick in that he may not do a Luis Diaz and hit the ground running straight away. Let's hope he does. But there's no pressure from me, and I definitely know there'll be no pressure from Klopp on him to hit the ground running. Do you know what I mean? So we've still got a few more pre-season games. He's got a few training sessions with the team, and we're about 18 days from when the season starts against Fulham. So he's got plenty of time to adapt and understand how the style of football we want and how we want. He needs to be physical. And he started to show that in the Palace game as well. He needs to be a little bit more confident. That's all I'd say going forward. But it's going to take him, if it takes him a month or two, then fine, so be it. But there's no pressure for me or, for someone who's just walked through the door. So, I get what Jay's saying, and, let's hope he's, we're not having this discussion and ease me over the head with what I've said. Do you know what I mean? But it's for me, I think we just need to calm down a bit and let the lad just settle into his game and let him just get on with what he wants to do, and let's see what happens in the first game of the season. I'll be the first one to jump on his back if he doesn't score a hat-trick.
I mean, we haven't even got to have him coming in at the ground running. Really, have we, to be fair, because we could go in with, even if Josh is injured, you go into the season with, you could start Diaz, Carvalho on the left, Diaz on the right, and Salah through the middle, or even Harvey Elliott or Bobby Firmino. There's so many options, isn't there, in the attacking options for him to have that time.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes, like Kev's just said, 60 minutes. Like, the kid isn't even fit, and there's people putting videos of clips of what he's done. He's not even match fit yet. So I'm not saying he won't hit the ground running, by the way. I'm just saying, when we're talking about a title race with City, I'm saying if he went to hit it the way we're expecting him to, then obviously it makes a difference that we've sold Mane and not replaced that if he doesn't hit the ground running. I don't mean he won't. But Kev's just hit the nail on the head there. The lad's played 60 minutes. He's not match fit. Brand new team. Luis Diaz, by the way, it's worth mentioning because everyone's going to compare signings to Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz is a freak. No one signs for the team and has the impact that he has. He can't even speak English. And he can play like that and fit a system like that. Luis Diaz is a freak, honestly. And I think I think he's that good. He'll get played of the season this season. I honestly rate him that highly. Every time he gets the ball, I go, he's just brilliant, mate, to watch. So that's going to be happen as well. People are going to compare new signing to Diaz because of just how good he was. But you're probably never going to get that happen. Someone adapt that quick the way he did.
What are you going to say, Kev?
To stop his first session and say to Klopp and go, whoa, where do you want me to be with Robbo when he does that? That shows how much he's in sync to what he as Klopp said, he must have been stalking the way we play for the past 2-3 seasons to come in and do what he did. Just phenomenal.
He's a freak. It's insane.
Yeah. For me, the pressure's on Salah.
On Salah?
The pressure's on Salah, not on Nunes or Diaz, because Salah had a bad second half of the season. Salah's just got the big contract. So Salah's the one that needs to hit the season running for me. He's the one that I expect to put our title challenge on its right footing in the first 2 months of the season.
He will.
That's who I expect to do it.
Because every season I can remember with Mo Salah, going into the new season, everyone's been having doubts because towards the end of the last season, he's been terrible. Yeah. And every year he starts the season. I can't think of a season where Salah's been unbelievable for the whole season, to be honest.
But if Salah starts the season on fire,
True.
don't matter what happens to Nunes or Diaz.
James.
Yeah.
James, do you reckon Nunes has took a bit of that off Salah in the fact that, you know, we're not talking about his big contract, but actually people are talking about Nunes not hitting the ground running and missing all these chances. So do you think that's taken a little bit off Salah in a sense and has made him play, maybe able to play a little bit more openly and a little bashfully like he normally does, or not?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Salah was, in the first 2 games, he's been unreal, hasn't he? He's gone a little bit wider, I noticed, on a few occasions. And the one opportunity, I think he was on the byline, and he could have just passed it in, but just drove in. When he does that, and Nunes and him get on sync, and Diaz gets on sync with him, he's just going to play it across the 6-yard box, and if Nunes misses it, Diaz will put it in. Honestly, I think Salah may get more assists than goals this season, but it's fine. As long as Salah starts properly, those two will benefit. Because then they'll double mark Salah, they get space, then they kick into gear. So as long as Salah can start the season strongly, everything opens up for the other two to take the rest of the season. I think that's part of the reason why Mane had such a good second half of the season. I think everyone just doubled up on Salah and Trent, tried to lock them down, and it just gives Mane a free ride.
Yeah. True. But we'll leave it there for today. I'm sweating, to be honest. Even the fans not doing nothing, but we'll be back tomorrow, 7:30. We're here every day. If you're on around here, don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe. Help us out a lot while we're still streaming on this 37 degrees or something, whatever it is, wherever you are. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe in the video if you're new around here. We're every single day at 7:30. We'll be back tomorrow, and then we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Transfer Central.